Hello everyone who's joining. I'm just going to get my lights on and then we'll make a start. So just while we're waiting, just coming to lie down on your mat, making yourself comfortable. I'm guessing you can hear me. It's all coming through in the audio, right? Yeah? Yep, great. Thanks, yep. Yeah, so just when you're ready, coming to lie down on the mat. I think maybe as we'll give it a couple of minutes for other people to join in anyway. Okay. So the first step in our yoga practice is to establish our sense of mindfulness. So as you're lying there, softening into the floor, just letting your attention come inside, becoming aware of your internal environment. So maybe the effects of your day are obvious. Maybe you feel a bit tired, or maybe you feel a bit achy. Maybe you feel quite energized. Maybe you feel busy in the mind. And however you are, know that it's okay. There's no right or wrong. So maybe you could notice, does your body feel generally heavy? Or generally quite light? Or does your body feel generally warm or cool? Or maybe you can notice areas in your body which are warmer or cooler. Maybe you can notice certain sensations more obvious than others. As I said, like any aches or pains, any discomforts, just allowing them all to have space in your awareness. Or maybe you just feel the gentle movement of the breath, the contact between your body and the floor. And when we feel like this, when we are in our sensations, then we cannot be lost in thought. We automatically come into the present moment. We're right here, right now, with things as they are, which is really what all of mindfulness is about. So now that we have that established and we feel present, we'll start to move and see if we can maintain that same level of attention and awareness. So as you're lying there, just starting to, going to turn the hands, palms face down on the mat. And I'd like you to start sliding your hands down towards the bottom end of the mat, towards your feet. And as you slide down, your arms will get pulled really long and straight. And you'll feel your shoulders being pulled downwards. So now with nice long arms, just lifting them ever so slightly up off the mat. We're still reaching down towards the feet, all the way to the fingertips. And then beginning to lift the arms up so that they reach up towards the ceiling. And continuing to reach all the way to the fingertips, letting the hands come right up over the top of the head until you come close to the floor, comfortable reach up above the head, and give yourself a nice long stretch. So we're reaching through the arms, down through the body, and all the way down the legs to the feet. Long stretch. And then when you feel ready, we'll take the hands and reaching them up towards the ceiling, and then bringing the hands back down to the side of your body. And we'll move like this a few times. So when your hands come back down to the mat, sliding your fingers down towards your feet, lifting your hands a little bit up off the mat, and then continue going up to the ceiling and up over the top of the head. Once the hands come up over the head, give yourself a nice long stretch. Include your legs. And then hands coming back up to the ceiling, and then bringing them down again by your side. So let's start to move with the breath of this movement. So letting the hands lift up over the top of the head with a nice breath in. And then letting the hands come back down to the side of your body with a long breath out. So moving like this at your own pace. Breathing in, arms lifting up over the top of the head. And breathing out, hands coming back down to the side. Let's do 3 more breaths like this. At your own pace. Coordinating the breath and the movement. Now, as we're just beginning, getting a sense of how your body is today, just noticing if you've got any particular injuries or any particular restrictions in your body right now, then you can either just let me know in the chat, or let me know by talking, or just making sure that we're moving within the limits of our body, doing your best to be as kind and compassionate as you can, not pushing, never forcing. So once your hands come back down to the side, just letting them come and rest on the ground. Next time you breathe in, hands lifting up over the top of the head. Nice long stretch. And then this time we're going to bring the hands, instead of down by the side of the body, in front of the body. So hands just in front of your legs. We're going to reach downwards towards the toes. And as you reach down, let the shoulders lift, let the head lift up off the ground. So now we're looking down towards the feet. And the head is up off the ground, but the back, the lower back, is nice and flat on the ground. So keep the back flat. And we're just looking at the toes reaching here. This one in the Zen Yoga system, this one's called the river to the valley pose. So the river is our attention, it's flowing down out of the head, and it's flowing down into the valley, which is our hara, our center. So just breathe, one more breath here. And then breathing in, we'll take the hands up over the top of the head and give yourself again a nice long stretch. Breathing out, hands coming to hover just in front of your legs. Reaching down towards the toes, letting the head come up off the ground, and again, lower back is flat. So now we're going to take the hands a little bit over the right leg and let the right leg lift up in between the hands. And then we're going to hold on the back of the leg, 2 hands around the back of the leg. Let your head come back down to the floor. Find to bend your right leg a little bit if you want. And just exploring how this right leg feels as you straighten it up, extend it up towards the ceiling. You might have space to bring it in a little bit towards your body, or you might find you're already at quite a strong stretch, something comfortable. Yeah. So just saying hello right leg, how are you doing today? And then maybe you just want to just rotate the foot, turning in one direction. Kind of interesting, when you've got the leg at full extension, and then we rotate the foot, all sorts of interesting new sensations come down the back of the leg. Let's change the direction of the rotation all the way down the calf muscle into the knee, just noticing changes. Okay, we're going to point the toes now up towards the ceiling, long straight leg. Make sure you've got a nice grip on the leg. So as I say, well, I should say, hands lower down the leg is easier, further up the leg is harder. And then we're going to see if we can press the leg forwards into the hands, so the arms go really straight. And then we're going to use the strength of the leg to bring ourselves up to sitting. So rolling all the way up. Now you may need a little bit of a rock backwards and forwards to come up. We're going to see if we can come up. Okay, so right leg now bending. And we're going to bring the hands around behind. So now the fingers face forwards towards the feet. Now we're just shifting into the autumn time of year. We're just coming out of the late summer season. It really feels a little bit sunny, but we're kind of coming into the autumn time. Definitely feels cooler. So we're going to work a little bit into the lung energy, the lung meridian line. So this one's a good one for getting into that lung energy. So if we just bend the elbows, lean back a little bit, and from the hands we're going to press into the floor and expand the chest and tilt the head to look up. Okay, you can keep the elbows a little bit bent if you like, just pressing hands into the floor, nice expanded chest, looking up. Deep breath in, and then just noticing as you breathe out, and then a nice one, deep breath in, opening, expanding the chest. And then we're going to lift the wrists and stretch the hands and fingers just for a moment, so fingers pressing down, and then we're going to spring forwards, bring the hands around the lower leg, let the head release down. So forehead is hanging down towards your knee. We'll just do a little bit in the opposite direction. No forcing, just hanging. Okay, and then looking forwards. Good. So holding onto the knee, now we're going to roll back onto the ground, nice and controlled. 2 hands on the knee. Now we've got this knee and we can bring it down towards the body. As much or as little as you want. So just as you hug this knee in, make sure that the left leg, the straight leg, is flat on the ground, doesn't lift up. So just gently easing this knee you're holding down towards the body. If you like to shift it a little bit right and left, just a little bit, just kind of like sensing into the hip joint, that's nice. Just a little movement is always good. Remember, Daizan would always, if you're not familiar, my teacher, Daizan, would always talk about his teacher, Shinzan, would always be kind of in movement, even when he's holding a posture. So it's kind of nice just to get a sense of the hip joint. Okay, so let's take this right knee. We're going to move it across the body towards the left, and that'll bring us into a roll, into a twist. So you can help out, bring the knee across the body, and then stretch out the right hand as a counterbalance in the opposite direction. So we've got our twist with the knee moving towards the floor in one direction and the arm, the shoulder sinking towards the floor in the other direction. If you like, you can roll the head as well. Just take a moment here, a couple of breaths. As I say, this early part of the class is all just about getting a sense of where you are, how you feel, how your day's been. And then next time you breathe in, we're going to roll back into the center. So legs out long, hands down by the side. Stretching the fingers down towards the feet and then reaching them up to the ceiling and up over the top of the head. Nice long stretch. And then breathing out, we're going to bring the hands hovering just over the legs. Reach down towards the toes. Let that reach lift the head up off the ground. And again, we'll just pause here. Lower back is flat in this river to valley pose. Take 3 breaths, noticing your center, your hara, your belly. Good. So then we bring the hands a little bit over the left leg, and the left leg can lift up, and then we're going to hold on, just as we did before, 2 hands around the left leg, head coming down to the floor, and we'll have this left leg extending gently upwards, saying hello. Hello, left leg. How are you feeling today? You're welcome to have the knee a little bit bent. You're welcome to stretch it a little bit upwards, extending. And then we'll just have that little play with the ankle joint, so rotating in one direction. See if you can really sense into how the rotation changes the feeling in the back of the leg, the calf and the knee. And then we'll rotate back in the other direction. Okay, now we're going to point the toes directly upwards. Make sure you've got a good grip of the leg. Low down is easier, as I say, so press the leg forwards into your hands and see if we can roll our way all the way up into sitting. Nice. Okay, so now left leg we can bend, and then the left leg, hands come around behind, fingers face forwards. Yep, just as we did before, a little bit bending the elbow. I'd like you to really focus on the thumb and the first finger, the lung and the large intestine meridian endpoints. The thumb and the first finger, as you bend the elbows, press the hands into the floor and expanding through the chest. So thumb and index finger pressing into the floor to make sure you've got a nice expanded chest. Nice deep breath in. Just going to turn my computer off. And then lifting the wrists, stretching the fingers, palms, and then we'll just spring forwards and let the hands rest around the lower leg, head dropping down, hanging down. Just a nice movement for the opposite side of the body. Looking forwards, holding on to both hands around the knee and then rolling back. 2 hands around your left knee, bringing it down towards your chest. And again, you just move as much or as little as you feel right for you right now. Make sure the straight leg is flat on the ground. And if you like, you can just move that, that left knee just a little touch left or right. Maybe hugging it in, releasing it a little bit, just moving it around. If it helps you to get your attention right deep into the hip joint, the thigh, and whatever else you feel. Okay, so we're going to take this knee now right across the body over towards the right side. And as the knee rolls, the hip rolls, then we can extend out through the left hand in the opposite direction and coming into this rotation, the twist. The knee is easing towards the floor. Make sure your shoulder, your arm stays reasonably on the ground. Just breathing with this, letting the twist seep into your body. And the next time you breathe in, rolling back into the center. Both hands down, both legs on, extending. Back down to the floor. Reaching your hands down towards the feet end of the floor of the mat, and then reaching up to the ceiling and up over the head. One last time. And then bringing the hands to hover just in front of your thighs. Reaching towards the toes, letting the head come up off the ground. Finding ourselves back in this posture. Now we're going to see if we can come all the way up to sitting. So that means reaching towards your toes and keep on reaching. So reaching. See if we can come all the way up. A little bit elbows can be helpful if you need to come all the way up. Good. Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay, so we're up into sitting. Let's cross the legs and we're going to come over into all fours. So 2 options. We can either just come over the legs like this, or you can sweep the legs around and come over into all fours. Now I appreciate it's not always the easiest to keep view of the screen, so I'm going to try and explain as much as I can as we go through. So maybe you can just glance at the screen if you need. Okay, so bringing the hands underneath the shoulders and then the knees directly underneath the hips, making a box shape of the underneath the body. Shift the weight ever so slightly forwards into the hands so you can really feel the hands resting on the mat. And then we're going to start to circle the weight in the hands. So that means shifting the weight to the side, to the front, to the side, and the back. Yeah, and making as big or as little circles as feels appropriate for your wrists. If it at all feels delicate or uncomfortable as you move forwards, do less, or just don't do this. Keeping attention on the palms, especially the thumb and the index finger. And then we're going to change the rotation back the other way. So wrists, areas that can get quite delicate, need a bit of TLC sometimes, but also areas that we can really work on, strengthen in our practice. Okay, coming back into the center. So let's take the hands out now as wide as the mat. Perhaps if you've got space, just a little bit wider than the mat. So maybe your thumbs are on the mat and your fingers are off the mat. And then again, we're going to shift the weight, just this time left and right. And that will really get a sense of the ball of the thumb and the thumb stretching. And again, you can be very delicate and gentle, or you can be a little bit stronger if you want. Yeah, just left and right. Stretching out the thumb and the ball of the thumb. The thumb being the end of the lung meridian channel, energy channel. Very sensitive, important area. Okay, so coming back into the center, and we'll bring the hands back underneath. Now if you feel like you need a little bit, then we can always just come back and have a little shake out with the hands before you put them back down onto the mat. So hands underneath the shoulders. Drop the head down gently towards the floor, letting it hang. Make sure the weight is a little bit forwards into your hands, and then from there we're going to arch the back. So that means pressing the hands into the floor, arching the back. Nice round back, head is down. Now keeping the arch, keep that shape as we move backwards, sit back towards your heels. So keeping the chin tucked in towards your chest as you move backwards, as far back as your body will let you. Then we'll drop the elbows to the floor. Look forwards, slide the body forwards until the head only comes in above the hands, no further. And then we're going to look up, lift the chin, and lengthen the arms, coming all the way up. Excuse me. So head down, arching the back, rounding the back, sitting back towards the heels, far as your body will go. Drop elbows, look forwards. Slide forwards until your head comes between your hands, and then look up. Lengthen the arms to come all the way up. Okay, and we'll move through this. So head down, rounding, arching, moving backwards. Drop elbows. Look forwards. Maybe even your chin wants to brush the floor as you come forwards and then up. Yeah, one more time. So head down, rounding, arching, moving backwards. Elbows forwards and up. Good. Okay. Nice. So nice way to warm up the spine a bit. So we're going to tuck the toes underneath, and we're going to come back to sit on your toes. So I like this in, some people call this the toes pose. I quite like that idea. It's excruciating sometimes to sit on your toes like this. So please don't feel like I'm asking you to torture yourself. So if you feel like, even for like just 10 seconds or something, if that's okay to sit on your toes tucked under. And if you need to untuck or just come up to kneeling, just go right ahead. Okay. Let me turn a little bit. So we're going to find the beginning of the lung channel. So that means taking your thumbs and bringing them in just to the crook of your shoulder here. It's the dip in the front of your shoulder onto the two sides. So if you bring your thumbs in like this, and we're just going to kind of massage around, yeah, all the way in the front of the shoulder. And the lung meridian channel comes down to the thumb, kind of like direct line to the front, from the front of the shoulder. So we're just massaging there. Front of the shoulder. And then let's see if we can close around that point. So that means pressing your thumbs in and bringing the elbows forwards. Yeah, so that's kind of rolling the shoulders forwards, looking down. And then the opposite movement would be to open up through the front of the shoulders, elbows go back, maybe even looking up slightly. Okay, so we're just moving with the breath, breathing out, rolling shoulders, elbows forwards, breathing in, rolling shoulders and elbows back. Yeah. So breathing out. Breathing in. 2 more times. Breathing out. Breathing in. 1 more breath. Breathing out. And breathing in. Nice. Okay, and then we can just release, maybe shaking out the arms. So we're going to see if we can find that in our all fours posture that we were doing. So if we come back down onto all fours, hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips, find the alignment. Okay, and then if you bring your mind, your attention to the front of your shoulders, just where we had the thumbs, and then we're going to drop the head down towards the floor, arching the back. Roll the shoulders such that the front of the shoulders goes up and back towards the spine. So like your thumbs were disappearing into the front of the shoulders. Hold that as you move backwards, sit back towards the heels. And then we're going to drop elbows, look forwards, sliding forwards. And then as you look up, lift the chin, lengthen the arms. See if we can find that open front of the shoulder that we had a moment ago. So chest is open, chin is up. Okay, so head down, closing the front of your shoulders, arching the back. Moving backwards, sit back to the heels, drop elbows, moving forwards. And then as you come back up to all fours, sensing that front opening of the shoulders. Okay, so let's do that 2 more times at your own pace. Really keeping your attention on the front of your shoulders. Noticing how the shoulders move. At your own pace. Keeping your mind, your attention. And then once you've done those 2, just come back into a neutral middle position. Okay, so we're going to see if we can increase the energy a little bit in this. And I'll offer the option maybe to tuck the toes and lift the knees ever so slightly up off the ground. Okay, so this makes it quite a bit stronger. Same thing, so we drop the head, we arch the back. Moving backwards towards the heels, just keeping the knees ever so slightly up off the ground. We can look forwards, maybe not drop the elbows in this one, but we'll come forwards and then look up. So come up, yeah, just keeping the knees ever so slightly up off the ground if that feels possible, okay? Arching the back, moving backwards. Look forwards, open the chest, slide forwards, and come up. Yeah. If you can, maybe even 1 more. So arch the back, moving backwards, and looking forwards. Chest is open as you come forwards and up. Good. Okay. So a little bit stronger. Some options just to have some energy. Okay, let's take the knees out as wide as the mat. Touch toes together. And then we'll sit back onto the heels and just soften down. If you like, you can rest your head on your hands, or you can have your head resting straight onto the floor. Just take a couple of breaths. Okay, and then we'll come back into all fours. So hands, knees coming back underneath the body. So we're going to lengthen the all fours ever so slightly. So maybe just walk the hands forwards a little bit, or the knees back. Tuck your toes, and we're going to press backwards and upwards into downward facing dog. So this is another one for really exploring that lung and large intestine energy channel ends the thumb and the index finger. So if you make sure the hands are flat on the ground, palms are flattening into the ground, the knees, you can have them a little bit bent or quite a lot bent if you want. Bringing your attention to your hands and see if you can really press thumbs and index fingers into the mat, forwards, down and forwards. Yeah. 2 more breaths. Attention, awareness in the hands, in the ball of the thumb, the thumbs and the index finger. Okay, so now we're going to walk the feet in and tuck them in just behind the hands. Take a moment in a forward bend, let your head just hang down. Always nice to spend a moment or two here. Again, legs can be quite a lot bent or moving towards straight or straightening as you wish. 1 more breath. And then we're going to slide the hands up the legs and come all the way up into standing. Take your time coming up. Okay, now every time we come into standing for the first time, just take a moment, getting your feet hip width apart, standing tall, hands down by the side. Maybe even close your eyes for a moment. Okay, so we're going to take the hand, like we were doing in lying down at the beginning of the class, we're going to do the same standing up. So if we take the hands, we reach them towards the feet, we reach them forwards, and then we reach them up over the top of the head. Nice long stretch, deep breath in, and then breathing out, hands coming back down to the side. Yeah. So 1 more time, breathing in, hands coming up, and breathing out, hands softening down. Okay, now this time as the hands come up, we're going to bend the elbows and separate the elbows, bring the palms to face each other, and looking up. Okay, so we're really going to focus on front of the shoulders, into the elbows, and the thumbs are facing behind you, facing back. Yeah. So as you look up, nice broad open chest. If you like, if you feel comfortable, you can even add a little bit of a back bend by easing backwards. Just stay strong in the belly. Be aware of your lower back. Couple of breaths here. Broad open front. Okay, and then we're going to bring the backs of the hands together. And we're going to come down kind of like this. So elbows out, but the backs of the hands are together. I'm going to come down just to the point where you feel like it's opening the back of your shoulders. So we don't need to go too far down. It's just the back of the shoulders. Couple of breaths here. Elbows out to the side. Back of the shoulders are open. Okay, we're going to move between those with the breath. So as you breathe in next, taking the palms separate, look up, elbows out. And as you breathe out, backs of the hands together, rolling just so the shoulders are open. Yeah. Okay, so with the breath, breathing in, open up to the ceiling. Breathing out, kind of like closing, facing the floor. Yeah. And just with the breath, a couple of breaths at your own pace. Breathing in, looking up. Breathing out, looking down. Okay, and then once we return to the looking up pose, or end of the movement, we'll just let the hands float down. Good. Okay, and then just give them a little shake out all the way out. In fact, you know, the energy of the lungs this autumn time is really all about letting go. So kind of like nice to really let go a little bit more. See if we can let go all the way down the arms, all the way through the chest. Give yourself a good old shake out, shake around. Mm-hmm. Good, okay. So we're coming towards the front of the mat, and then we're going to continue like this. So taking the hands up over the top of the head, nice deep breath in, separate the hands, bend the elbows. And then breathing out, back to the hands together. This time we're going to roll all the way down to the floor. So let the hands slide or reach down, 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 all the way to the floor. Yeah. Bring the fingertips to the floor, take the right foot long step back. Hands are flat down. Make sure you've got a nice firm grip in the hands. Hands are flat, and step the other foot back into downward dog. So we're looking down towards the feet, but our mind stays in the hands. In the hands, the thumb, the index finger, the fingers pressing into the mat. 2 breaths. Concentrating on the sensations in your hands. The palms are flat and engaged. Okay, and then we're going to step the feet forwards, just tucking them in behind the hands. Take a moment in your forward bend before sliding the hands up the legs, and again coming all the way up. Good. Let's step now the feet out wide and come to face the side. So we're going to explore what they call a horse stance. So we've got a fairly wide stance in the feet, maybe not quite as wide as you do into a forward bend, but still pretty wide. The toes are facing out 45 degrees or so, and we're going to just take the hand, one hand on your belly, one hand on your lower back, and we're going to see if we can keep alignment in the middle of the body when we bend the knees. Okay, so we're not trying not to stick the bum out too much as we come down. So we're sinking down into it, keeping the alignment, a little bit of tone in the belly. Now, this horse stance is a fairly strong and challenging pose, so if you find it's quite strong, come up a bit higher. If you want the challenge, come down a bit lower. Yeah, so up to you. Okay, so take the hands out in front. So let's take the right hand and make an L shape like this. Okay, and then we're going to bring that around to the side so that your L is to the right hand side. The other hand is going to be like our fingers around the string of the bow, and then we're going to draw the bow back and extend through the L shape. Okay, so keeping the hips facing the side of the mat, but we're now looking towards the right end of the mat with the L shape. Okay, release the L so the fingers just hang soft, and then we're going to reach into the other direction, and then we bring the hands up in front. Okay, so now left hand L shape around to the side, curling the fingers around your imaginary string of the bow, and as you breathe out, we're going to draw back and extend through the L shape. Index finger as much as you can facing upwards, getting that sense of pull through the arm, keeping the hips facing the front, but just looking to the side. Okay, now your index finger is pointing up, you can just drop it down, release the hand, and then we reach out the other hand, and then we're going to come up into the center. Nice. Okay, so let's take now the right knee, right foot, we're going to swivel it on the toes, and we're going to turn to face the end of the mat. Okay, good. So we're going to bring the knee down, come down to a lunge. 2 hands on your thigh here, and we'll just sink into a lunge. Now, the alignment thing about a lunge is we want the knee to be directly over the ankle and the foot, so not beyond the foot. So just adjust your length, your spacing, so that that feels comfortable, and we can sink in here. The hips now are aligned to the short end of the mat, and we're just sinking there. So we've got the knee, the bent knee in front of us. We want to have the opposite hand. So I've got my left knee, so I want my right hand, if that makes any sense. And we're going to cross it over the front of the body. Now let me turn a little bit so that it's easier for you to see. We're going to cross it over the front of the body, and then we're going to come up underneath and hold the arm and bring it in like this. Okay, so we're in the lunge, we're sinking in the lunge, but we're just crossed over here. Holding. This is actually a really nice way. So the lung energy line we're activating with the pull in and the biceps here, and the large intestine line comes up the back of the arm. We're actually stretching it out by pulling it across. So it's kind of combining the two in this movement. Okay, so let's release the arm. So the right arm is now going to lay across the knee, back of the hand facing upwards, and we're going to see if we can sink down the chest on top of this arm. You want to keep the arm up high, kind of like near the neck, as you sink down, and just let your body rest down. 2 shoulders are kind of parallel to the floor if you can, and just let the body weight bring more of that stretch into the outside of the arm as you sink into it. Just take a couple of moments here, sinking, noticing. Okay, releasing, coming up out of it. Now this crossed over arm we're going to bend so that the elbow now is on the thigh. I apologize, I'm kind of facing away from you. And then we're going to bring 2 palms flat together so that the 2 elbows, we're making like a prayer position with the 2 hands, with the elbow resting over the crossed over knee, and then we're going to turn the body to see if we can look up towards the ceiling. So we're using the elbow as a bit of lever on the knee to turn to face up. Okay, and then releasing, coming back to the center. Right hand now comes down to the floor, palm is underneath the shoulder, and then the left hand is going to reach upwards towards the ceiling. So we've got this, we're working with this twisted body, we're turning towards the knee the whole time, and we're now looking around towards the ceiling. Now the arm that's lifted, you can keep it lifted, or if you like, you can drop it around onto your lower back. And you can then think about lifting and opening the chest rather than lifting and opening the arm, if you see what I mean. We're twisting, turning into the chest and the hips. One more breath. Okay, so we can release, come back to the center. Now the right arm that was on the floor, the hand that was on the floor, we're going to make a big semicircle movement like this, and at the same time tuck the toes and see if we can come back into a horse stance like this. Sometimes it needs a bit of readjustment as we come up. Yeah. So again, hand on the belly, hand on the lower back, just to make sure we've got alignment. We're not sticking our tail out. We're holding a little bit of tone in the belly, and we'll sink into it. Good. Hands up in front. Right hand L shape. Bringing it round to the side. Fingers curl around the string of the bow. Breathing out. As you draw back, you could think about maybe sinking a little bit in the legs. Keep the knees moving out in line with the toes. Dropping your index finger, release, and then just reach out in the opposite direction. That's it. And then we'll bring the hands up into the center. You can come up a bit higher. Left hand L shape. Bring it around to the side. Curling the string, fingers around the string. As you draw your bow, sink into the horse stance. Yep. Good. Release the index finger, reaching out. And then we'll come back up into the center. We'll do it on the other side. So this time, the left knee, left foot, we're going to rotate on the big toe, ball of the toes. That'll turn the body to the short end of the mat, and we'll sink down into our lunge. Yep. So if you have to turn, just making sure we've got the opposite knee, opposite leg forwards. Yep, great. So we're in the lunge. Let's take a moment to let the hips sink down and make sure we've got that alignment. Knee is directly over the foot. You can just rest on that thigh, sinking a little bit. So preparing the body to be in this lunge for a little while, a little moment. Okay, now let's take the left hand and we'll cross it over the front of the chest. And then we'll bring the other hand up underneath and just hold it in, hugging it in. Like we did lying down on the floor with 2 hands around the bent knee, hugging it in. Here we have the arm around the other arm, hugging it in. You can control and the level of the depth of stretch Just whatever feels comfortable, shift it around. Maybe go up a bit, down a bit. Just see what feels good around the shoulder. Our yoga is always an individual exploration for you, your practice. I'm just guiding us through a series of different postures. It's your job to notice what effect they have. Okay, so we're going to release. We'll bring that left hand across the knee, palm face up. And as you sink your chest down towards the floor, let that left arm slide a little bit across the knee, just as much as it wants to. Make sure you've got it up pretty high, like chest, neck level or collarbone level as you sink down. Just breathing with that, see what that brings. And of course, we've got some obvious sensations, maybe around the shoulder and things, but maybe other sensations, maybe lots of other feelings in other parts of the body. Okay, one more breath. And then we're going to release up a little bit out of it. We're going to bend that left elbow so that the elbow now is on the knee. And we bring into the hands together like a prayer position, like this. We're all facing away from each other. So prayer position, elbow on the knee, turn and look up a little bit. Using the elbow pressing into the knee to help you turn. One more breath. And then we're going to release. Bring left hand to the floor, palm underneath the shoulder, and then right hand reaches up, turning to look up. We want to avoid this being a shoulder, we want to avoid this being too much about the arm, so we're just going to drop that right arm behind the back and help that to turn from the lung 1 point. So the front of your shoulder, the point where we were pressing with the thumb earlier, if you think about that point, opening up, turning to face the ceiling. One more breath. Good. And then release back down to the front. Left hand makes a big semicircle in this direction as we tuck the back toes and see if we can come all the way up into our horse. Okay, so we're going to see if we can move through that a little bit quicker, that whole sequence, and I'll add a couple of options as we go through. Feel free to adjust as you need for your body. Good. So hands coming up in front. Right hand L shape. Start a bit high. Draw your bow, and as you breathe out and pull back the bow, sinking into the horse stance. Drop index finger, reach out in the other direction. Bring hands up in front. L shape in the left hand, drawing back, sinking down. Drop index finger, reach out. Hands up in front. Right knee, right foot turns to face the side. Okay, now the option here would be to keep the knee up off the ground in the lunge, if you wish. Okay, so we can bring two hands on the front knee and just sink into a lunge. If you wish to keep that back knee up, go ahead. You can have it bent. It can be working a little bit towards straight, just as you wish, or you can have it right on the floor as we had it a moment ago. Right hand crosses over the front of the body, left hand holds it, brings it in towards the chest. Okay, we're going to release the arm. Right hand now is on back of the hand on the top of the knee, just as we did before. As you let your chest sink down towards your knee, let the arm slide. So we come into this stretch on the outside of the shoulder. Again, back knee can be up or down. Okay, release a little bit, bend the elbow, two palms together, flat palms like prayer position, turning to face upwards. And then we're going to release, right hand on the floor, underneath the shoulder, and then take the left hand to face upwards, reaching, twisting, looking up. Again, you can explore. If you had the knee down, you can just lift it a little bit, see if that feels okay. If you've had the knee up and you want to drop it to the floor, go right ahead. Okay, coming back down, twisting towards the center, and then we'll have that right hand sweeping around to come back up into horse stance. Hands come up into the center. Right hand L shape, draw the bow, sink into the horse. Drop index finger, reach out the other way. Coming up. One more time, left side, left hand, sink. Drop index finger, reach out. Up into the center. Now this time, the left foot, the left knee will twist, and we'll come to face the other end of the mat. That's it. 2 hands on the knee, sinking into a lunge. Your choice, knee up or down. Now, if you've done one way on one side, doesn't mean we do the same on the other side. If it feels appropriate here to do something different, you just go right ahead. Always that sense of kindness. Okay, so we have here, left hand crosses the body, right hand holds it into the chest. And then when you're ready, let that left hand palm face up, come onto the knee, and then just let your body weight sink down on top of the arm, finding the outside of the shoulder. Okay, bend the elbow, 2 palms pressed together like prayer position, starting to turn to face up. And then we're going to release from this, bring left hand, palm underneath the shoulder, and then beginning to turn, look up, lift the other arm, so the 2 hands are reaching away from each other. Good. Release coming down. Left hand this time, big sweep to come up back into horse stance. And then we're going to bring the legs underneath. Whew! Give them a good old shake out. That's a good work. Nice. That really gets into a few things, doesn't it? Okay, hands, feet underneath the hips, standing up nice and tall. Eyes can be lowered, hands down by the side. Just taking a moment, breathing, noticing. Good. Okay, eyes lifting. So keeping the legs as they are, we're going to interlink the fingers in front of us, pressing the wrists together, and then we're just going to press downwards. So that'll help the shoulders to roll forwards and down. Okay, release. Hands come around behind. Same thing goes, interlink the fingers, pressing down, shoulders rolling back and down this time. And again, one more time. Coming to the front, interlink. If you like, you can interlink the other way, the way that feels a bit weird when we bring the hands pressing down. And then again, one more time behind, interlink, press down. Good, and then can release, shaking out through the whole of your arms. Okay, we're going to come down into all fours. And maybe before you get down into it, just have a little watch. Let's see if you can see. We're going to turn the hands so that the thumb and the index finger are down. Okay, so that's onto the floor in that direction. Thumb and index finger down. And then we're going to sort of slide them out to the side and bring the shoulder close to the floor. If you can see what I'm doing there. I'm going to see if we can work into this like side of the arm. Does that make sense? Can you see that? Yeah. Okay. So from all fours, let's start just on one side. Don't mind which side. We'll start just one side. We'll turn the hand. It's maybe at a V shape, like out 45 degrees to the mat. If you turn the palm, thumb and index finger facing down to the floor, And if you just slide it away from you as your shoulder, you can use the other hand as a kind of control arm to control your body weight as you sink down. You'll probably find there's a point where it's like, oh yeah, okay, I can't go any further than that. Be really, really aware, cautious, careful, gentle, kind. Maybe a little bit more of an unusual move. Bring some sensations that perhaps we don't normally feel in the arm. Maybe getting a sense of the deep fascial connections which run within as part of this energy line. So as we just breathe with this, you might find you need to back away a little bit. You might find you're okay where you are. You might find you can just sink a little bit more. Noticing the flow of energy, the stretch. Two more breaths. And then we'll do the other side. Okay, and very gently start to come up out of it, taking your time. You can give your arm a little bit of a shake around, before you put it onto the ground. Just take a moment to really sense that. For me, I get tingles all the way up that arm through the bicep, front of the shoulder. It's really quite remarkable. So just noticing for yourself. Yeah. And then just when you're ready, we'll come on to the other side. So the other hand, thumb and index finger face down, about 45 degrees to the direction of your mat. And then slide out to the side as your body comes down, your shoulder comes down. You may find you're a long way from the floor. You may find you're close, or maybe you're on the floor. Doesn't matter. Taking your time. Being very aware and kind to yourself. Does it feel the same on this side? Is it just like a mirror image? Do you feel something different? How is it different? Breathing. Two more breaths. And then we'll slowly, gently, gradually come up. Bring yourself up a little bit. Give your arm a shake if that feels good. Releasing. Letting the energy flow through the arm. Nice and freely. Okay, so we're going to come to sit in a cross-legged position. Okay, so we're going to finish with about 10 or 15 minutes of meditation at the end of this class. But before we do that, we'll just kind of prepare our legs and our body for coming into a meditation, including the arms. So if you come into normally we sit cross-legged with the legs tucked right in towards the sitting bones, but what we're going to do is just take the feet a little bit further away than we would do normally, and we're just looking for something like a 90-degree bend in the knees. So the knees are not really too tightly bent, if you see what I mean. Feet are a bit further away. And then if you just notice which leg you've got on top. So for me, I've got my left leg on top of the right. So I'm going to put my left hand on top of my right hand, like this, crossover. And then we'll just come down, hands on your knees to start off with. Now we're going to come forwards into a bend. And if you feel comfortable, you can stick with your hands on the knees, or you can wrap around and hold your shoulders. So either one, whatever feels good. So just easing forwards. You might find you need support with the hands down. You might find you can wrap around, hold the shoulders, just as you feel is appropriate. Much better to come in slowly, gradually, than to come in a bit too deep and then have to back away. Taking your time. Maybe about 5 breaths here, and then we'll do the other side. Softening just wherever feels like it can be released. One more breath. And then very slowly coming up. And then within your own time, we're going to switch it over. So just switching the legs. Making sure you've still got that 90-ish degrees in your knees. And then crossing the hands the other way around. You can either start with the hands on the knees, or you can wrap around as you wish. And then just coming forwards. Taking your time. Bear in mind again that this side may feel quite different. The hips, knees may respond very differently to this posture on this side. Just being aware, respectful. One more breath. Very slowly coming up. Nice. Uncrossing the hands. Now, when it comes to a meditation posture, well, we've got, you might be aware already, we've got a few different options. Let me just show you. I've got a little sitting cushion, but you can use something maybe handy or nearby, maybe a towel or a yoga block, or even a rolled up yoga mat can be helpful. We've got a couple options. You can, well, I quite like to sit kneeling. That's quite nice. That's quite comfortable. Allows an upright posture. You may want to sit cross-legged. It does help to sit with your tail up on something rather than flat on the floor. It just makes things a bit more comfortable and easy. So maybe today you haven't got it around, just doing what you can. If you need to go and grab something, just go right ahead. Yeah. Just going to turn the music off. Nice. Okay. So if you're sitting cross-legged, it's kind of nice to take the knees out as wide as you can, with the one foot in front of the other. That's also very comfortable posture, or any arrangement that feels good for you. The important thing here is to have the spine upright, to have the crown of the head reaching up. That allows the chest and the belly to be nice and free and open, and it also allows the body to be aligned and relaxed. Our eyes, we're looking down. You're welcome to have your eyes a little bit open or closed. And just taking a moment to relax through your face, through the shoulders, and your hands. Now, hands, they can be resting on your legs, your knees. Some people like to tuck them in to the lap. Again, just whatever feels best. So we settle into our meditation posture. Now, despite what many people say, the body and the mind are not actually two different things. The body is in the mind, and the mind is in the body. They are one system. So now when we bring the physical body into a meditation posture, the mind comes too. The physical arrangement of the body, this uprightness, the balance, helps the mind to be awake and alert. And then the physical relaxation, soft face, shoulders, belly, brings the mind also to a place of softness, where it's receptive. Excuse me. So already we're in our meditation just by bringing the body into this shape. So the attention, as it has been through the whole of our class, remains inside. But maybe through the movement part, we're looking at our body and we're also looking at the screen and me. Now we have the opportunity to really sort of take away that visual element and really focus and concentrate on just what it feels like. So what does it feel like as you sit here? Like we did at the beginning, does your body feel generally heavy or light? Sometimes we get a bit of both. One part of my body feels heavy and another part of my body feels light. Do you feel generally warm or cool? You notice hot spots and cool spots. Do you feel any particular obvious sensations? Sometimes something just jumps out at you. Can we view those sensations without judging? They're not bad, they're not good, not something we want or don't want. Just the way we are right now. Letting the attention rest on the movement of your breath. Noticing how your breath feels just as you're sitting here, expanding and releasing. And if your mind wanders off and we get into a thought or a memory, an idea, whatever it happens to be, just as soon as you notice, bringing your attention back. Come back to your breath. Breathing in, breathing out. So we are now listening to our lung energy. When we are relaxed, the diaphragm is the muscle that's drawing air into the lungs and letting it escape. We're noticing the movement of air into our lungs, movement of air through the throat, and with every out-breath, just have that sense of letting go, breathing out. Letting go of wanting to be anywhere else. Letting go of wanting to be anyone else. Just you right here, breathing. And with every breath, the most incredible chemical reactions are happening as the body brings in oxygen, breathes out carbon dioxide, oxygenating the blood. And we can't feel that happening, but we can know that it does happen every time you breathe. This amazing body and the amazing processes keeping us alive. If your mind wanders off and we get distracted, just as soon as you notice, bringing your attention back to your breath. Now in the last couple of minutes of this class, if you'd prefer to come to lie down, you're welcome to just go right ahead. If you'd prefer to stay sitting, again, that's absolutely fine, your choice. Letting go. As we come to the end of today's class, just going to begin to deepen the breath a little bit. Take a nice deep breath. If you've been lying down, taking your time, rolling over onto your right side. Gently and slowly making your way back up to sitting. Letting your eyes slowly lift and open. Bringing the hands together in front of your forehead. Take a little bow to honour your own practice this evening. And then coming up here, making this diamond shape on top of the head. And then we're going to lay that on top of the head, the hands over the crown. So we bring the hands out to the side, we scoop up a bit of space, of energy, and we bring it into the chest, and we're going to bow to this energy, this practice, all of us practicing together, bowing to each of us. And then if we bring the hands in front of the chest, we're going to go forwards and then down to the floor and bowing, saying thank you to all of our teachers and all the people in history who have passed things down for us to learn today. Great. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining me today. So this is the first class in the series. We're going to be here every Wednesday, 6 till 7:15. So it'd be great if you could, come if you want to join anytime. Yeah, really great to see you. Thanks very much. Thank you, Mark. Bye-bye. Yep, thanks. Bye-bye then.